Vaush, I still haven't seen TYT evidence the claim that the left has gone too far stuff has a meaningful impact electorally. The most recent, I think that a good example you could make was the defund the police messaging. I think that the defund the police messaging is, like, the term defund the police is confusing to a lot of people, and it suggests a far more radical position than the vast majority of BLM protesters are willing to subscribe to. And because it's confusing, not everyone knows what other people's positions are or if they agree with the people next to them. And that means that advocacy for specific policies concerning that slogan are going to be mixed and receive mixed messaging. So I think that would be an example, but that's not necessarily the left going too far in, like, action. That's more an ineffectual slogan caught on at a bad time. Rhetoric does matter. Yeah, abolish the police as well. You know, I do remember having arguments with lefties who earnestly seem to believe, these are like the kinds of people who are over at CHAZ, like a couple miles away from me, who thought, like, you know, oh yeah, well, like, we're actually going to abolish the police, you know? Like, that's a real thing that's going to happen. Like, come on. There are still lefties who are like that, you know? I mean, that foreign man in a foreign land guy referred to America as a crumbling empire. I don't like that rhetoric from lefties. I hope people understand that American global hegemony has not been this strong ever, with the exception of, like, the immediate post-World War II period and the few years, like, in between the Soviet Union collapsing and Putin taking power. Arguably, we have more global hegemony than we did at that point because, like, oh my God, dude. Yeah, you can't, it's, manifestation isn't real. You can't actually make the U.S. empire collapse by saying it. You know, you have to rationally assess the situation. CHAZ literally had police too. They were just idiots with rifles walking around with poor communication and no training doing, quote, security. Yeah, there's a reason I stayed away from it. Last thing I want is for the kind of person who was at CHAZ to recognize me and go, hey, it's that transphobic, you know, like, yeah, it's fucking Vaush starts blind firing in my direction. No, thank you. For those of you who don't remember,
this morning, protesters in Seattle are holding several city blocks after the Seattle police vacated the area earlier in the week, called CHAZ, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
It's sort of like a different way of thinking.
Protesters turning the neighborhood into more of an open community space, a block party type atmosphere, music, a hot dog stand, gardening, rather than a corridor for violence and mayhem.
Dog, if people want to garden and do community shit in the street, that's based as hell. People were talking about how this was like the start of them taking over Seattle.
This is not just, we're going to take in, draw graffiti and have fun. No, we're going to maybe turn that into a community center. We can get a black bank here. We can get a fresh grocery store system here. It could be a cool zone, a safe zone.
The police abandoning one of its own stations in an effort to de-escalate tensions after more than a week of violent clashes. But now, President Trump inserting himself, tweeting, "The terrorists burn and pillage our cities, must end the Seattle takeover now," and threatening to use the Insurrection Act to send U.S. troops into the city.
We're not going to let this happen in Seattle. If we have to go in, we're going to go in.
The last time the act was used, 1992.
They're showing the early parts here, but it's important to remember that, like, 2 days into CHAZ, like, the block party had ended, as all parties do, and it was basically just a bunch of, like, drifters and no-lives, like, asking people to bring food in because they were running out of food. Yeah, then it got taken over by a drug dealer because what do you think is going to happen in the one lawless area of the city? I'm so confused. Isn't CHAZ the type of thing you argue for? Aren't you an anarchist? Yeah, I've always held by the controversial belief that anarchists don't actually have to be completely retarded and, like, politically illiterate. No. Anarchy as a political scheme is not trying to make a revolution out of a two-block party. Oh yeah, someone died here too? Probably not good. What would you, anarchist society, commune look like? Why? Guys, you're insulting me and anarchism by even mentioning anarchism when looking at shop/CHAZ. This is nothing. This has nothing to do with it. They kept the police out of, like, 2 blocks, and some people set up, like, food store. Like, it's socialism. It's a whole complicated set of economic and political decisions that have to be made. Transformative stuff not just a big block party. Like Burning Man is not anarchism, you know? It's not. This is unironically what most Twitter anarchists think anarchism is, to be fair. Yeah, I guess. It's a genuine question. It wasn't necessarily related to CHAZ. Man, I don't know. What I care about most is like the procedure, right? Well, you get a proletarian state, you get decommodification. To what extent can you implement statelessness? Vaush, you should know. No, I shouldn't, because I don't have like a template of the society that I want in the future. I have policies that I think could be implemented now to make people's lives better now. I'm not going to live to see anarchism. I don't know. It's material factors involved that I'm not going to be alive to see and I can't predict for. What you should care about is which political processes bring about good outcomes, which templates, which formats work, and then you push for those. That's historically what has worked, by the way. Nobody envisioned modern capitalism. Like 300 years ago or 400, whatever, no one was like, so Adam Smith, what do you think capitalism will be like? And Adam Smith was like, okay, so Times Square will have giant, like, glowing billboards that'll, like, have advertisements. No, what you do is you lay out systems, incentives, procedures, and you argue for how that will... what you're basically... It's like you're building one of those chia pets, okay? You sculpt the thing, but you don't know how the chia pet's gonna grow. All right? There, I'm done. Move me out.